day and good morning. This is a meeting of the Commission on Post-Mortem Examinations. Today's date is Thursday, October 28th, 2021, and the time is 10:03 a.m. For the record, members of the public may trickle in during the Zoom meeting. They will be admitted muted, but given an opportunity to speak at the public comment portion of the agenda should they seek to provide comment. This Zoom meeting is being broadcasted live on YouTube. And with that, we'll proceed to roll call. Myself is present. Is Chief Ignacio on? I do not see him at this point. He will join us later. Guam Medical Society President, Dr. John Ray Taitano. He's present. Guam Memorial Hospital Administrator, Lillian Perez Posadas. She's also present. And Public Health Director, Art San Augustin, who I do not believe will be joining us today. We do have a quorum and we can proceed on to the next item on our agenda, which is compliance with open government law and public law 36-34. Publication of the agenda and meeting minutes was done in the Guam Daily Post and on our website on October 21st, 2021. There was publication of the agenda and meeting details in the Guam Daily Post on October 26th, 2021. And lastly, in compliance with public law 36-34, this is being broadcasted live on YouTube. If the commission members could take a moment to review the minutes from our September 23rd, 2021 meeting, and we can proceed. Let me know if you have any revisions that you would like to make or corrections. Yeah, I don't have any corrections. Dr. Taitano or Administrator, any corrections?
No, I don't have any corrections either or changes. Thank you. I
Okay,
move
Dr.
to approve the minutes.
Okay. With no corrections being noted, we'll approve and we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, old business. So we do have a MOU that's in process of being renewed for our locum tenens pathologists, and that expiration date would be September 30, 2022. So expect to see those coming across your desks. Medical examiner contract status, everything is still on an added as needed basis. And Johanna, if you want to talk a bit about where we're at with that.
As far as the pathologist from Guam Memorial Hospital and in Saipan, that is as on an as needed basis. We haven't called back the one from Saipan, the pathologist from Saipan just yet for this fiscal year. We are working already with the hospital pathologist, and that has already been approved by Administrator Posadas, and it is already, the contract is already being processed. As far as for the forensic pathologist, we do have already in place certification of funds for fiscal year 2022 already, and we've already utilized the Hawaii pathologist once this fiscal year.
Okay, so we do have contracts that are being finalized to cover this fiscal year for the forensic pathologists, Guam Memorial Hospital, and also Dr. Dotterman out of the NMI.
Correct.
Are there any questions from the other commission members on the status of the contracts?
None,
Okay,
none for me.
Okay, and again, Administrator, thank you very much for Dr. Abe. He's been tremendous help in helping along, and Johanna, I see you nodding your head in appreciation. So next item on the agenda is the status of proposed legislation, which we approved at the last meeting, and we are still in the process of finalizing that for transmittal. and we'll have an update for the commission at our next meeting. Next item on the agenda, Johanna, if you could talk a bit about the 2022 budget.
Chairman, what exactly would you like me to discuss on that one?
I guess just letting us, well, making sure that you've received what do you have put in. And if we have any idea on burn rate and expectations, just projections now. I know you mentioned before that we have already required the services of Dr. Ishikawa out of Hawaii. And I believe he's scheduled to potentially come in again this month or next. So how are we doing overall with the budget for FY22?
So overall, we're still, we are still in the green. We're not shortfall. I projected based on the entire fiscal year for the 2 staff that are available. And we're looking at, based on the vacancy of the medical examiner currently, we're looking at a lapse of 237,000. And that's after we've already funded for Dr. Ishikawa, the forensic pathologist from Hawaii.
And Johanna, I guess we'll get there, but is that partially in anticipation so that we have funds available to offer a candidate for medical examiner?
That's
projection?
correct. That
Okay.
is correct.
So you've structured it in a way that would preserve the ability of the office to make an offer.
That is correct.
Okay. Administrator or Dr. Taitano, do you have any questions on FY22 budget for the office?
Actually, I do. For what's approved by the Public Law 36-54, in terms of contractual services, it dropped to 38,000 from when it was in 2020, a fiscal year budget expenditures. It was 173,000, and then it dropped to 38,000. Is there a reason why it dropped so much?
So based on previous year, 2021, there were funds that were moved from personnel into contractual to fund for the forensic pathologists and other pathologists from Saipan, as well as pathology services with Guam Memorial Hospital. So that because of the vacancy of the medical examiner position, we utilize some of those funding under the salaries to cover for that.
Okay, so the 38,000 is going to be okay for the office for contractual services?
At this time, based on what was appropriated for this fiscal year, we're trying to work within that means.
Okay.
And if anything,
it's a big drop, and it looks like we're going to be seeing more autopsy examinations, and there's that increased projected level of number of autopsies that will be done. So I'm just a little concerned that it was dropped significantly to 38,000 for this fiscal year.
And Administrator, I think, and Joanna, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what the projections were based off of in the movement across categories was with the hope that we would be able to secure a chief medical examiner sooner, which would alleviate the need for contractual.
Okay.
So the goal is to not have to spend 100,000 plus on contractual if we have a full-time chief medical examiner. And Johanna, is that accurate? That's why categorically right now you've done it in that way?
That is correct.
Okay. That makes sense then. Thank you.
And Chief, I know you've been busy, Chief Ignacio, but thank you for joining us. And we've just approved the minutes and are talking a little bit about our FY22 budget. Johanna was explaining that current categories have been loaded so that in the anticipation of offering and certifying funds for a chief medical examiner candidate, and that's how we got to a drop in the contractual amount based on last year.
The other question that I have, AG, I'm so sorry, but reading the fiscal year 2022 in terms of the goal, Joanna, you recognize that you need additional staff, but unfortunately, the budget that was approved, those were zeroed out. So I'm just kind of concerned that, you know, the need for more staff, but yet you're not able to recruit. So I just kind of recognize that, you know, maybe down the road, we really need to provide supporting staff for your office there.
Yes, that
And
is
I think we would all support that, Administrator. Part of the reason why we're hesitant at this point as a commission, though, and at least for me, because if we're moving along in the agenda, the chief medical examiner that we end up offering and selecting probably may have an idea or vision for the office in terms of additional staff, which may include things
Okay.
such as an investigator. That's
Right.
one of the things that have come up. So, and I think we all agree that Johanna needs a little bit of help over there. They have 2 staff, but how that's going to be configured, we're hoping to give that flexibility to the next person instead of us.
Okay. Thank you.
But I join in your wanting to support Johanna, and I'm sure I see Johanna smiling that she appreciates the support of the commission in trying to get the staff that they need.
Right.
Dr. Taitano or Chief, do you guys have any questions about FY22 before we move on?
None for me.
Okay. Johanna, if you moving on to the ARPA funds funding status, if you have one.
So currently, we're still waiting on the funds to be loaded. Once approved by the governor. The ARPA funds that I did request for is an amount of $315,000, and that will fund for any shortfalls in personnel to include limited term staff that's going to be covered under the ARPA. And then also to include any shortfall in any contractual services, provide us supplies and equipment funding, as well as capital outlay.
Okay, so we are awaiting governor's response on allocation.
Correct.
Okay. We'll move on to the modernization grant, and I know I believe there was some equipment that I signed off on about 50,000. So we continue to use those funds and to update the facilities that you have there, Johanna. I don't, Janice, do we have anything else to report on the grant other than we're proceeding? Okay. 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 So we're continuing to purchase equipment in line with the grant application. And again, I think I've seen a requisition request for about 50,000 for some of the equipment and tables at the CME or OME. Are there any questions about that? And we'll provide a more detailed explanation by the next meeting. And we'll move on now, really to the reason why we've come back quickly, just to give the commission an update on the recruitment status for chief medical examiner. And Dr. Taitano, again, thank you for accommodating with your schedule. I just would note for the commission that we've reviewed applications and based on experience, education, and interviews, we would select or recommend selection of Dr. Kenny Sue. And Dr. Taitano, do you have anything that you would like to add to that? I can't, I'm sorry, Dr. Taitano, you're on mute now. I'm not sure if you've.
Yeah, sorry. So yeah, we did review his credentials and they're pretty impressive. He's trained in Taiwan, was initially trained as a neurologist and then switched fields to pathology. He's board certified, US board certified in 3 different pathology fields, including forensic pathology. So his credentials are pretty impressive. I think he'll be a good candidate for our chief medical examiner position.
And we did provide the commission with his credentials and the materials that were circulated, if you want to take a moment to review that. Or if there are any questions at this point. Yeah, and if not, we're going to request if there's a motion to accept the search committee's recommendation of Dr. Kenny Sue.
I motion
it's-
to accept. I
Okay,
motion to accept.
Is there a
I
second?
second it. I second
Okay,
it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's anonymous. So the commission has accepted our recommendation of Dr. Kenny Sue as a candidate for the chief medical examiner position. Just for the record, we cannot and have not had any discussions with Dr. Sue on compensation, and that is going to be our next request. If the commission would authorize the search committee of myself and Dr. Taitano to have a meeting with Dr. Sue to hear and listen to what his request would be for salary and benefits. If we could have a motion.
I move for the search committee to then engage in discussion with Dr. Sue to negotiate the compensation.
Is there a
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
I second. Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Okay, without unanimous, and again, just to clarify, the search committee function will just be to receive information and to listen. We will report back to the commission at our next meeting, and we continue to push on this. So we're hoping in the next 2 to 3 weeks, we will be able to provide the commission with an update recommendation. And at that point, the details of what any formal offer to Dr. Sue would look like. As part of the board's consideration, we were able to confirm with General Manabusan's team in the Northern Mariana Islands that they will be able to provide $50,000 as long as Dr. Sue or whoever our candidate is, if we select, is able to continue to provide services to the NMI as well. And I believe Administrator Perez-Posadas, you confirmed they have about 5 autopsies per year. Is that accurate? Or sorry, it wasn't you. It was Lillian Tenorio from the NMI. I apologize, Administrator. If you want to nod your head, you can just say yes to that as well. So with that, we're going to fast track this. And again, Dr. Taitano, thank you for moving so quickly on this. Within the next week or two, we'll plan on setting up a meeting and having a follow-up meeting on how our discussions went with Dr. Sue. Okay. That's all that we have in the agenda. It's actually a pretty action-packed meeting, but I don't see if we have anyone from the public. That is there anyone in the, okay. Are there any other, sorry. At that point, is there a motion to adjourn the meeting? No public comment, no one in the public's here. Okay, Dr. Taitano moves to adjourn. A second.
I second.
second.
Okay. All right, thank you all. And again, we'll be in touch in the next 2 to 3 weeks for a follow-up meeting.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Oh.
Thank you.
Thank
AG,
you.
can I-
Bye. Yes.
Yeah.
Can I call you?
Yes. Yes, sir. Okay,
Okay,
Chief.
thanks.
Okay.
I'm gonna call
Thank
you.
you.
Aye.